Hi there, my name is Kim Nixon. Welcome to my home studio. I have been teaching yoga for MaineGeneral since 2014. I've been practicing yoga myself for about 14 years, and I've been teaching since late 2012. I was formerly, before this, um, state government employee. So I worked for state government for 29 years. So I always say that yoga teachers or anyone is a combination. We're all a combination of our training, our experience, and our personality. So I also always say that you can never really find two yoga teachers that teach in exactly the same way. So a lot of what inspires my teaching is partly my training, partly my experience in state government, partly the issues I've had in my own body, and again, partly my personality. So welcome. This is our fourth class in our Therapeutic Applications of Yoga. And today, so our last class, we focused on upper back and shoulders. And today, we're going to focus on shoulders and neck. So shoulders both times, because shoulders are so, this whole area is very intimately connected. So chest, upper back, shoulders, neck. But today's class will be specifically for upper shoulders and neck. So I want to start by we carry so much stress. We bring stress into our necks. I'm a massage therapist as well as a yoga teacher. I've been doing massage since 2009, so 12 years now. So I just want to start with a little breath work, like in our very, very first class in this series, because I just want to settle into the body for a moment. This would be how we would start any class I was ever teaching. Any yoga class always starts with centering, grounding, breath work, sort of bringing ourselves into the physical body, bringing our awareness inward. So just start by closing the eyes. And for today's practice, you can either sit on a pillow, sit on a bolster. We'll be seated for most of the time. You can also do this from a chair. So just dropping in, place the hands on the knees, let the shoulders relax down. This is a real important awareness when we're working with shoulders and neck. Because what happens to us with our shoulders all the time? They start to, when we get stressed, our shoulders start to creep up by our ears and they stay right there. We forget to ever put them back down again. So this is an important awareness, just pressing the shoulders down away from the ears. Little lift right here at heart center. And if you can't feel it that way, then little lift at the front rib cage. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. Closing the eyes. Aligning the spine as best you can. So whether you're on the floor or on a bolster or on a pile of pillows or blankets or in a chair, just bring your awareness to the spine. In through the nose, out through the nose with the breath, bringing that breath deeper into the body. Bringing your awareness to the tip of your tailbone, and in your mind's eye, make your way up the spine, one vertebra at a time, all the way up the spine. All while breathing in through the nose, out through the nose. Long, slow, steady breath. And special awareness in this alignment piece of the back of the neck. the cervical spine. So when you get to that part, just imagine that you have a cord at the top of your head, that's the crown of your head, that's just pulling you upward just a bit so you can feel a little bit of lengthening in that cervical spine. Just a couple more breaths in and out. Slowly opening the eyes. So we're just going to start with a little self-massage today. So clasping the hands if you can, and if you can't clasp, that's fine as well. I want you, and if you have a shoulder issue, then just leave one arm out of the mix. Or if anything causes you pain, the most important thing about practicing yoga is listening to the body. So bringing the hands behind the head, and then I want you to start to open the body back up again. So don't even draw those elbows apart yet. Just see if you can lengthen through the spine and see if you can bring your head back into alignment with your body. And you are probably already feeling a bit of a stretch, maybe in the breastbone area, maybe a bit in the chest, and then open those elbows a bit. Just take a breath in and a breath out. And then right at the base of the skull, it's called the occiput. This is where I would start every massage session with a little bit of traction. If you've ever had a massage, a little traction at the occiput. So relax the arms a bit. I just want you to massage your own occiput. You can let your head gently bobble around a little bit. So just at the back of the neck, right as it meets the skull, just notice what you have for tightness, and especially at that area. So this area I'm referring to as the occiput is exactly right at the center of where the skull starts, right at the base of the skull. So just sort of circling with your fingers, whatever feels good. Notice, maybe go down the neck a tiny, tiny bit on both sides of the spine there, both sides of the cervical spine. Notice if you have more tightness in one side than the other. And just massage. Remember to continue to breathe, because when we breathe, we're relaxing our nervous system, which is also helping to relax our muscles. So basically, I never have anyone on my table, shake the arms out, never have anyone on my table that doesn't have tension at the base of the skull. So we carry so much stress in our neck and the base of the skull. Now, the tops of the shoulders, so starting with your left hand, right at the top of your right shoulder, and just find any tender and tight spots and just sort of kneading with your hands or circling with your fingers or whatever feels right. Just give yourself a little bit of a massage in that trap area, the tops of the shoulders. Breathing in through the nose, out through the nose, whether you're seated on the floor or in a chair. Try not to completely lose that alignment and try to keep the breath going. Then switching hands. So this is something, so 29 years in state government prior to becoming a yoga teacher. So switching sides and just massaging that other shoulder. Notice if one's more tender than the other. You might find that your dominant side, if you're right-handed, your right side might be more tender. But if your dominant hand is the right hand, your left hand is still the helper hand. So sometimes the left side, isn't necessarily determined by your dominant side. So working in an office for 29 years, I can tell you that I wish I had been doing all of these neck things on my breaks. I wish I had taken all of these little stretch breaks to do all of these things that we're doing today. Shake the arms out again. And then if you're sitting on a blanket, remove the blanket. Or if you're sitting in a chair, you can just make your way up to standing. We're just coming into cat-cow. So coming right up into table. And we've done this in our last 2 classes. Like cat-cow is pretty universal in any yoga class, and we can have a different focus every time we do it. So from your hands and knees, just balance out the 4 legs of the table. If you have wrist issues, rock back into the knees a bit. You can have knees on a towel or a folded blanket here as well. And I just want you to drop into cat-cow. So on the inhale, tilt your tailbone upwards, start to let the belly drop. And then lift at the crown of the head. So special attention today to that lifting at the crown of the head, stretching away from the shoulders. On the exhale, tuck that tailbone under, draw the navel toward the spine, start to round the back up. See if you can drop the full weight of the head here and stay right here in cat for a moment. So pressing up through the arms, see if you can drop the head completely and just let the weight of the head hang. Because that is one of the best ways to free up tension in the spine, is just to let the weight of the head hang. Take a breath here. On your next inhale, tilt the tailbone up. Drop the belly, raise the crown of the head, stretch through the crown. Exhale, tailbone rounds under, navel toward the spine, back rounds, head drops. And with the breath, just one more on your own with the breath. And then making your way back to table. So I know certainly not everyone who's going to see this video practices yoga. So everyone who sees this video can do all of the things in this video. But I know not everyone watching this video practices yoga, so you may not have practiced down dog. You can either come up to standing, or we're just coming up into down dog. So elbows roll toward each other. I'm going to cue it all out so you can give it a try if you like. Full expression of the hands on the mat. Wrists still under the shoulders. Elbows roll toward each other, tipping the toes under. Start to press the weight back through the base of the hands, base of the thumb, base of the index finger. And now I'm going to lift my lower body. I'm going to keep my knees bent. I recommend knees bent, especially for those with lower back issues. Make sure your arms are still active, elbows still rolling toward each other. Drop the full weight of your head if you can. If your hands are slipping, you're new to this, that can go on for years and years. Take a little paddle of the feet. This is just a transition. This has very little to do with neck, except that we're hanging the weight of the head off the neck here, and we're just transitioning to standing. So walk the feet forward, walk the hands back, keep the knees bent, drop the head, start to roll up one vertebra at a time. Feel that nice stretch just in the rolling up. Feel that nice stretch in the upper spine and neck area. Now roll those shoulders back. I think we did shoulder rolls in our last class, just rolling the shoulders back. And then bringing the feet to about hip width apart. About hip width. So especially us women, we think our hips are this wide. So I'm not talking this hip width. I'm talking the hip bones in the front. So about a fist, the wide way of the fist in between your feet, and roughly, but we just shouldn't be standing like this. So roughly, because we're looking to align the joints here, we're just going to come into what's called a dangle squat in yin yoga. So bending into your knees, just start to slide the hands down. You can also do this seated in a chair. Just come to the edge of the chair and you're just going to hang your head down in between your legs. So if you were in a chair, you'd want the legs a bit wider. So bending into the knees, I'm going to drop my hands right down to the mat and just let my head hang. That might not be right for you. Untreated high blood pressure, you would want to be up a bit higher. I'm going to show you a couple of modifications. So if your hands are way up here hanging, you might, if you have a block or something, you might bring a block in. The other thing that feels really, really good to me always in this posture is to grab my elbows. Now make sure your knees stay bent. If you're in this dangle squat, this is not a forward fold. So I'm going to show you from sideways as well. My knees are bent. This is what's protecting my lower back. I'm going to grab my elbows. Just take a couple of breaths here. Keep those knees bent. Again, if this is too much, if you feel any dizziness, any vertigo, you can bring the elbows to the knees or just above the knees. So resting the elbows on the quadriceps and just drop the head forward. One more breath in, one more breath out. And then wherever you are, slowly rolling. Roll those shoulders back one more time. Breath in, breath out, shake things out in the body. And we're just going to make our way right back down to seated. So, seated in a chair, seated on a blanket, seated on a bolster, seated on a pile of pillows. So once again, drop right into that breath. Breathing in through the nose, breathing out through the nose. We're just going to bring some awareness to this shoulder area. So dangle squat, that posture that we just did, excellent for mild headaches, because often headaches, this doesn't include migraines, they're in a whole category all their own. But when you have a headache, sometimes just coming into a dangle squat for just a breath or two can be enough to release the stress in the neck to make that headache feel better. It often will make my headache go away. That and massaging my temples, but we're working on necks today. Necks and shoulders. So just resting the hands on the knees or on your lap if you're in a chair. We're just going to bring some awareness to this area that is often not in our awareness, this area that creeps up. These trap muscles get all tight in when we're stressed out at work, we all of a sudden notice that our elbows are up by shoulders are up by our ears and we're not breathing. So just press those shoulders down. So actually press them down for a moment and extend out through the crown of the head. Now, my chin isn't tipping up and it's not tipping down. Extending through the crown of the head is that same visualization that we used at the very beginning of practice. I often have students imagine a cord at the crown of the head and you're being drawn up with that cord. So now just dropping into some shoulder shrugs. On the inhale, bring your shoulders up as high as you can. Feel how awkward that feels. And on the exhale, lower them down and actually press them down. And when you press them down, you might even feel a natural little lift at that heart center area, that breastbone area. So inhale, crunching them up. And exhale, pressing them down. In through the nose. And out through the nose. One more, in through the nose. And out through the nose. We're just going to drop into some neck circles here. If you're seated, feel free to stretch out the legs, bounce the legs at any time. Again, every single thing from here on can be done in a chair. So it can be done right in your office chair at work. Begin with that spine aligned all the time. We're just going to drop into some little neck circles here, dropping the chin to the chest, and just start to circle the neck. So circling, now some people like to circle the neck around the back body. And for others, that's very uncomfortable. So you can circle around the back body as well. Or you can just, as I cue it, go from ear to shoulder. So it's more like a half circle. Just circle around the front of the body. But either way, close the eyes, align the spine, engage the core, navel drawing toward the spine. I always say close the eyes. That's if you feel safe in the environment that you're in. If you feel safe closing the eyes, that is a standing invitation in all of my classes, and that's because, man, we take in so much stimuli, visual stimuli through our eyes. When we close our eyes, we take a lot of the distraction out of the practice. So truly we can focus on what we're feeling in our bodies, switching directions. We're not going to take very much time on any one of these because there are so many things that we can do to help to soothe our neck tension, our neck discomfort, our upper shoulder tension. So coming back to neutral. Once again, at any point you need to just stretch out the legs, give them a stretch, give them a bounce too, or move to a chair. So now on your next exhale, keeping the spine right where it is, focused on just the head, turn the head to the right to the extent of your range of motion. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. Again, you'll see my eyes open, but feel free. I invite you to close your eyes so you feel everything that's going on here. So we're always just trying to look for the edge of our range of motion. Exhaling left, in through the nose, out through the nose, come back to neutral. This time on your next exhale, exhale, dropping the chin to the chest. Feel that little baby stretch you might feel in the cervical spine, the back of the neck. And then inhale. So I'm going to stretch my chin toward the ceiling, so it's like opening the throat area. What I'm not doing is tipping my head way back. It's literally like I'm trying to stretch my chin upward without dropping my neck back too much. On your next exhale, exhale, chin to the chest. Inhale, chin toward the ceiling. Stretching the throat. So what we're doing here is opening up the front without compressing the back. And then back to neutral. Last one, this time on the exhale, drop your right ear to the right shoulder. Inhale, center. Left ear to left shoulder. So not moving the shoulders at all, just moving the head. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. And exhale, left. And back to center again. So let's all give those legs a little break. So especially if you're seated on the floor, we've been in that Sukhasana easy pose for a few minutes now. Excellent for opening hips, but I always want to make sure that especially bodies new to the practice have your sits bones up high enough on top of a blanket, on top of a meditation cushion, on top of a bolster even, so that you're not stressing your lower back trying to stay in that posture. Bringing the legs back in. And last, or almost last, but not least, I love this somatic movement posture. So you can do this from a chair. If you're on the floor, just relax your hands onto your knees, relax the shoulders down. So starting with the right arm, just stretch the right arm toward the floor diagonally. So stretching through the arm, stretching through the fingertips. Be gentle with yourself. I just want you to feel that stretch that you create in your own body. On your next exhale, bring right shoulder to right ear and right ear to right shoulder. And then on the inhale, extend that arm out diagonally and extend the crown of the head diagonally. So I'm not trying to bring left ear to left shoulder. I'm literally trying to lengthen through that cervical spine. I feel a nice juicy stretch in my body. So 3 of these. Shoulder to ear, ear to shoulder. In other words, engaging this whole area. And on the inhale, expand at a diagonal. Exhale, contract. And inhale, expand. You should feel it, just a nice, juicy, juicy stretch. Like I literally feel it all the way up into my head and all the way down into my wrist and fingers. Bring the hands back to the lap. Same thing on the other side. Left hand, left arm at a diagonal, stretching through those fingertips. See if you can feel this stretch up through the arm. On your next exhale, exhale, left shoulder to left ear to left shoulder. Inhale, extend. Stretching the arm diagonally, stretching the side neck diagonally and out through the crown of the head. Exhale, bring them together, contract. Inhale, expand. Be very gentle with this. This might seem very simple, but it's very, very powerful. It's like awakening all of these muscles in here that aren't used to doing this type of movement. And this has been a favorite movement of mine since I discovered it. So not actually yoga, just a somatic movement. And my oversimplified description of somatic movement is it's sort of like reintegrating the conversation of the mind and body. together, because man, our mind is everywhere but in the body most of the time. So just relaxing the hands onto the knees. We're just going to end this practice with a very, very subtle movement. So as though you have a flashlight at the crown of your head. And I just want you to make tiny, tiny circles with the neck. So not like the circles we made before. Tiny, tiny, like you're drawing a circle on the ceiling. Breathing in through the nose and out through the nose. And once again, I invite you to close your eyes. I want you to notice as you're making these baby circles, what's happening is we're making like a 360-degree turn around the neck, engaging the neck muscles. So the muscles are engaging where the head is tilted forward or back or to the side. So sort of like on the inside turn of this baby circle. And we're getting a little tiny stretch in the neck on the outside turn of this baby circle, switching directions, continuing to breathe. And just like any yoga practice or any breath work practice or anything we'd be doing in yoga class, this is almost like I have dogs. I have 2 little Chihuahuas. So, and I had a Jack Russell, and I always used to think with my Jack Russell, she loved to have a job. Or as I would say, she would always assign herself a job, and it wasn't always necessarily what I wanted her doing. So when we do a practice, a simple little practice like this tiny little neck circle, we've given the mind an assignment, and the mind is concentrating on that assignment. So for these few moments, at least, that we're doing this, the mind isn't off in one of its worry loops or one of the other things the mind does. Coming back to neutral. Let's just give the shoulders a roll back. Really exaggerate it to end this practice today. Thank you all for joining me. I would recommend that you do something from this practice every single day to bring awareness to the upper shoulders and the neck, because our necks just get so tight that it leads to more tightness in the upper back, leads to headaches, and just all around, that's where we store a lot of our stress. So it's been a pleasure to bring this little video to you today for therapeutic applications of yoga for neck and shoulders. Feel free to join me for class anytime. I teach live streaming classes from Wednesday through Saturday. I practice, this is where I teach from. This is my live streaming studio. So join me anytime. You'll find everything you need at kimnixonyoga.com. Thank you for joining me for practice. Namaste.